Welcome back to Getting Worked, everybody. It's your boy Jared. I'm hanging out here with my boy Ian. How's it going, man?
Doing good, doing good. How about you?
Doing pretty good, man. Appreciate your flexibility with the late start. Got pulled into a work thing. You know how it goes. Um,
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries at all.
you gotta take care of that business.
Well, one
Um,
day this is gonna be our work. So we're gonna get it pulled into a work thing. It's gonna be us streaming.
us too.
So
Yeah, it's like,
till
oh,
that
did you
day,
hear about this? Oh
yeah,
man. Okay,
we got to get
we
on.
gotta
This is
get on
it.
this
This is
now.
it.
Okay, yeah, that'll be
Yep,
nice. That'll be nice. But until then, I gotta keep the lights on some other ways. Um,
yep.
so, um, yeah. So what are we doing tonight, man?
Uh, we're gonna get to Dark Age. We're gonna play some Dark Age after. I have to first address something that came up today in the world of sports. And I'm gonna lead it off by saying it is my absolute favorite player of all time, Scottie Pippen. He is my favorite bull. He is my favorite basketball player. He is the player that I compare all other point forwards to. If there's an ace defender, I compare him to Pippen. Pippen is, no questions asked, my favorite player. So it bothers me deeply that I have to question his recollection of history. Let's just put it like that. He came out today. If you haven't seen it, he came out today on the Dan Patrick show. Today, I believe it was earlier today or late yesterday. He comes out on the Dan Patrick show and, in summary, calls Phil Jackson a racist, and a bunch of other things. If you haven't seen it, you need to kind of see the clip, because there was a lot of rambling and back and forth of crazy accusations, et cetera, et cetera. He was calling Phil Jackson a racist because it was racially motivated, was his words. And Dan Patrick asked him, well, if you're saying a play is, a coach is racially motivated, to make a play call, you're calling him a racist? Is that what you're saying? He said, yes, I'm fine with that. So what the play that he is talking about, that if you're a Bulls fan, even if you're not a Bulls fan, if you've ever the 1.8 seconds, every Bulls fan kind of knows that from history. Scottie Pippen didn't go back in the game. It was a playoff game, big game against the rival Knicks. The Knicks were the hated team at the time. Bulls despised them. They despised the Bulls, et cetera, et cetera. Michael was retired at this point. And so it was Pippen's team. This was Pippen's year. He was solo. Tony Kukoc had just come over. Believe he was a rookie that year. So it was his first year. Uh, at the time, I despised Tony Kukoc. Tony Kukoc had, again, Bulls fan, loyal to Michael and Scotty. Tony Kukoc was known as Jerry Krause, their GM at the time, the idiot. Uh, it was known as his boy that he had found over in Europe, and it brought him over. He was paid more than Scotty, et cetera, et cetera. All these things are factoring in. Scott, at the end of the game, 1.8 seconds, the Bulls are down. The play call is for Scotty to inbound the ball to Tony. That's the play call. That's what Phil calls. And Tony's gonna take the last shot. Tony is 6'11" and a good shooter. I didn't like him. I didn't. Tony Coco Pops. I did not like him. He was to take the last shot. He had hit the last shot several times that year. Again, mismatch. Basketball is all about mismatches, except for any sport. It's about mismatches, just about. Um, and so Scotty says that it was racially motivated, that Phil Jackson called the play for Tony Kukoc. That is insane. If from every logical standpoint, it makes Scotty sound. It makes him sound like a person who is spoiled isn't the right word I'm looking for. It's like he's going back in time and has a lot of regrets over how his career coulda, shoulda, woulda. Scotty, again, my favorite player of all time. More than Jordan. I like Scottie better than Jordan. Absolutely. The first three championships, I'm not saying this is the most sane view, but I'm saying it was mine. Scottie, I had the battle between, with people of Scottie was the one that won us three championships. Michael's that guy, but without him, without Scottie, we're not winning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Scottie throws a tantrum on the bench because he believes the play should be called for him. He doesn't go back. He will not go into the game. So he sits out the final 1.8 seconds. The ball is inbounded. Tony Kukoc, hey, hits the shot. Bulls win. Fine. That was 20 some years ago. That's all well and good. Scottie Pippen went on, he's 6-time champion, defensive player of the year, et cetera, et cetera. Scottie Pippen is one of the greatest of all time. He comes on the Dan Patrick Show, like I said, says all this craziness, talks about, again, you got to be so careful about saying things where it's racially charged, especially today with the way the world is. You have to be careful. You don't just throw that around. Otherwise, it loses its value. And the fact is, there's plenty of other stuff that's actually racially charged. Absolutely, without question, those should be dealt with and talked about. We're talking about a basketball game from 20 some years ago. That was the end of a game, and it was a good play call. Nothing racial about it. Not at all. Not kind of. Not a little bit. Nothing about Phil Jackson has ever shown otherwise. I mean, he's the hippie from the 60s. That's not exactly that's not their MO. But Scottie was on there. He went up one side, back down the other. He sounded a lot like, and I evoke this name with pure hatred. There's a player from Detroit that is a whining, sniveling child that to this day I despise. He played for the hated Detroit Pistons. He's all of 5 foot nothing. No, he's probably he's claims he's 5'10", maybe. He's a little twerp named Isaiah Thomas. To this day, I cannot stand him. I find him, he's a whiner. He's a crier. They left me off the dream team, etc. Michael was so mean to me. All that. That's who Scottie sounded like. So today, I say that with pure hurt in a weird way. Not as just a fan, just as, again, growing up having watched them and despising Isaiah and that group of rejects as much as I did, to see Scottie, for me to have to put him in the same category and make where he reminded me of Isaiah, that was extraordinarily disappointing. So I want to start the stream off a little bit with just about that. Jared, let me indulge me for a little bit. Yeah, man. Hey, jump in.
So I think there's a couple things to consider here. One thing I will touch on with Scottie is that, what was it, a couple months ago, he lost his oldest son.
Yeah.
Didn't really disclose why, but we did know that he had like really bad chronic asthma issues, general health issues. And I think a lot of things.
He's not in a good place.
Which is sad. Yeah. So I think that's a part of it. I will say that Scottie's also has had moments of this kind of definitely has shown signs of having a chip on his shoulder for a while now. And I think after the Last Dance documentary came out, I think he started to show even more of it. And then just in general, certain just things you can kind of see. It kind of came off, but seemed to come off maybe a little bit more petty than he would probably want it to come off as, or he just flat out didn't care.
He over the years, he hasn't been the most he's not the most articulate. He's not the most calculated. It would be tough being in the shadow, no matter how bright your light may shine, if you're next to the sun, you're not going to see it. So there's always going to be that kind of
And
a little bit of that.
I will also be one to make the argument that I feel like the Bulls did do him wrong salary wise. You know, I
Different
think
topic.
that's,
Yes.
but I think that's, I think that, but I think that plays into it. You know, I think that kind of plays into sort of that just sort of that chip that's on his shoulder around everything. But having said that, and you alluded to this, the play in particular that Scottie is kind of referring to that he specifically said was racially motivated was a play that they had run before various times throughout the year. First game of the year. I don't know if that was the one, but I know there was in particular there was variations of it used against Milwaukee and the Pacers that year. Kukoc had been a pretty decent game-winning shooter for them. He had hit game-winning shots before for them. I think that they figured again, especially against this Knicks team, the way they would usually roll their inbounds defenses is they would have Charles Oakley up on the inbounder because he was tall and at that time so had pretty good legs under him. So could have a good chance of maybe getting a piece of the ball. And then they figured that they would probably have Anthony Mason defensively against, say, at that time, Kukoc, who's going to be your best scoring forward on the floor at the time. Anthony Mason coming in as the second team defense that season. So again, that would make sense. And I think the Knicks seem to show that they got an idea on what the play was. But at the same time, I think the Knicks manned it the way Jackson hoped they would.
Sure.
And so the idea was then, get the ball to Kukoc, likely to have a shorter guy on him, and then just to then be able to take that shot. And you mentioned that Kukoc was a rookie. Kukoc was a rookie in the NBA, but he was a 25-year-old European player who'd been playing professionally since he was probably about 15 or so, because they do it differently in Europe. So,
and it was a different time as far as European players.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah.
At one time,
give a little. Go ahead.
I was going to say, at one point in time, they were referring to him as like the Michael Jordan of like the European League.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was Jerry Krause.
No, that was papers in the from Europe at the time. They were talking about him. Again, it's European basketball, which is a different beast, but at the same time,
especially back then,
it wasn't like he was a scrub, No. So he was coming in, and so he now, but also ironically, oddly enough, that game he was 1 of 5 going into that play. So that was the second shot he made the whole game.
Yeah.
But, I think Jackson figured that would be, I think it really boils down to, from Jackson's side of things. Now, if Pippen wants to come in with other examples of things, then that's fine. But as far as that play goes, I can't see it really being anything other than an X's and O's decision. Looking at the play,
6'11" versus 6'7".
Yeah.
A lanky, tall shooter. Yeah. Shooter. That's what
he is. Yep.
Yeah, he was the first kind of the new. If Tony Kukoc actually played in today's NBA, and again, this is not coming from someone who was in love with Tony Kukoc or his game or any of that. When it came out, again, Scottie and Michael, those are my guys, but they absolutely could not stand Tony Kukoc, and so since they didn't, I didn't. As dumb as that may sound, is what it was. Again, teenager, this is what you do.
Sure.
So yeah, Kukoc is not. I to this day, he's in the Hall of Fame now. I mean, yeah. So he obviously was not a scrub. He was a 6'11" ball handling. He was supposed to be their point guard of the future, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where the background as far as Tony goes. I do believe if it had been literally anyone other than Tony, who Michael and Scottie had to hear about, and how Jerry Krause had, again, the Bulls organization, that's a different topic. Bunch of crackheads sometimes. But from ownership to the GM, and I don't mean their current GM. I think he's actually really good. Thank goodness, it's about time. But the ownership were we saw. Most of us saw The Last Dance. We know the ownership's not always the most focused on basketball or good people. So Tony was their guy.
Well, and
if you want to say that there was a color issue there, okay, that's a discussion, but not from Phil.
Not from Phil. And I think I
Phil couldn't have cared less. He could have been purple.
I don't even know if it was necessarily a color issue necessarily, even from Krause. Krause wanted to find Krause wanted to be able to find his guy and be able to say that he could do it without Michael. Because he wanted to elevate himself as a GM away from Michael and make it so that, okay, I didn't need Michael to do what I do. I can bring this person in, slot him in, and still get wins, still get championships, even without Michael, and even preferably, possibly even without Phil.
Right.
Even
though he had found Phil, he was the one that brought Phil in.
I know.
I mean, it's the short man syndrome. Don't get me wrong. I don't think any of this was racially motivated.
I think there's a lot of things.
I think Kukoc was in a bad situation that he couldn't have won. It didn't really matter where he was. Yeah, it's not him at all. It's not Tony's at all in any way, shape, or form.
No.
What Scottie and Michael did to him on the
job to do, and he did it. He did it. and so I think that, I think
he was a fan. He was a Bulls fan coming over.
Yeah.
I'm going to play with Joe. If you think of it back in the 90s, for those that remember anything that, LeBron is now, Jordan and the Bulls, they were rock stars. They were far and away above that. And this is at a time before social media, et cetera, et cetera. They rule. When I say they ruled the world, they ruled the world. They went anywhere. Right. It was a party. That was where things were happening.
See, because again, there's so many other things that you could possibly point to that I think have a lot more validity than any kind of racial discrimination from Phil Jackson. You could, if Pippen wanted to come out and say that it was some kind of pressure from Krause or some kind of stuff like that, I'd be sit back and be like, well, you know what, that very well has a lot of validity. Maybe. That has a lot of validity.
A discussion.
The past circumstances, and even documented, and that's even with The Last Dance. There's a lot there that you could point to and say, okay, absolutely, this was maybe Krause maybe overstepping his bounds a little too much. But boom, all right, So okay, boom, done. I get it. If you want to call out that play, I don't know how much he would have, much influence on far like that particular play, but as far as like maybe pressure overall to maybe get Kukoc a game-winning shot, boom, boom, boom. I can see that. I could see that. But again, especially if stuff.
Phil wouldn't have even called it. I think Krause could have been on the sideline with him and been like, "You got to call the play for Tony." He might have called it just against it, just to know. Yeah, we're not done something else. That's we're going to just roll the ball inbound it and call it a game.
That's the thing too. I think again, of all the things that Scottie could, for lack of a better word, complain about. Around everything that was going on, and that the time that Jordan was away and everything, I think just there was I think there was also, I think there was a lot of, I think Scottie understandably put a lot of pressure on himself that year to really show that he was the man.
He was trying to get out from under the shadow,
and
the long shadow that was there.
They were 2-0. I'm sorry. They were 0-2 in that game.
Yeah,
and
going in.
It was Scottie really wanted to be, and so it was they needed the shot.
And Scottie had done really well in that game.
Oh yeah, he had done incredible.
Yeah.
Done incredible. Like I said, Kukoc hadn't even done that well, but he was the best choice to make that shot.
Again, it's about matchups.
Yeah,
6'11", a 6'11" shooter versus a 6'7" defender.
Yep,
a really good passer. Pippen, what he has done all his career, the reason that he invented the term point forward.
Correct. Right.
All of these things leads into you let Scottie inbound. He's your best passer.
Exactly.
He's your guy.
They basically set it up so they could have some diversion points. Horace was basically there to grab the rebound.
Right. Tap back.
Kerr was there basically to be that outlet pass if the play broke down. And
was it Kerr at that point, or was it Pax?
No, Kerr was on there. Kerr
I couldn't remember.
They were all lined up on the foul line, and I can't remember everyone that was in there. But the key players was Ho Grant was on one end, Kukoc was on the other, and then you had a couple guards on the inside, and they had whoever was playing their small forward inbounding. And Kerr specifically was there to float out to the 3-point line to be that outlet pass if things broke down.
Right.
And so, and Kukoc, who's no slacker as a passer either, would be able to say, okay, this play, all right, I'm going to, and it's 1.8 seconds. So basically,
which is time for a pass.
Yeah, just quick time pass. For one pass to Kerr, boom. That was your second option. That was it. That's all you had time for.
That's your safety valve.
So basically, everyone else, I mean, really, whoever that other guard was, and I don't even know who it was effectively for the play, more just to space out the floor. Right. Space the guy out, and then Ho Grant was basically going to go run, and then he was on one end, and then Kukoc was on the other, and his role was to kind of help break out, spread out the floor, and then the idea was for Ho Grant to be there to potentially grab the rebound, more as just in general for that play in general, but it wouldn't even mattered for this play because it was 1.8 seconds left, and a rebound wasn't going to matter. But as far as the play,
everything you just described shows thought.
Yeah, it's very
like specific, precise movements, timing, people of all colors involved, etc.
And they've done
none of these things are what racial people are.
And again, it's a play they had run before that season, very specifically.
Several times.
And the reason why I'm saying is, and the reason why, again, that's why I know. It wouldn't have mattered. Like a lot of that secondary stuff, other than the quick pass out to Kerr, was the only thing that would have mattered because of the time they had. But previously, when they've run it and they've had more time, you could see it where the idea was for Ho Grant to be there. His primary role was to grab that offensive rebound. He was spread out, and then he was to follow the ball and be there to grab that rebound. And
let Scottie do what Scottie does, which is be the playmaker.
Sure, exactly. Because again, Scottie in previous iterations of the play, Scottie was the outlet. I mean, I'm sorry, Scottie was the guy that was doing the inbound. I'm sorry, and then and he's again, like you said, such an exceptional passer. And also, again, you're not going to put a point guard there because you need someone tall enough to be able to get that inbound in.
Hopefully, he's going to swallow up. If you put Steve Kerr out there, he's going to swallow him up. He'll never be able to see the inbound. Forget the pass.
You have somebody else other than Kerr anyway, because you want to have Kerr out there
as your shooter,
as that 3-point shooter. Because Kerr, I mean, again, was kind of the first, which is ironic that I'd say ironic, but interesting that he ended up coaching Steph Curry, because at that point in time, Kerr was one of the guys that was like, as far as like volume 3-point shooting for the 90s, he was that dude. Was him. you know?
Yeah, he was.
And
he
so,
really was.
And so it made perfect sense to have Kerr out there. It made perfect sense to have Hogran out there because he was your best rebounder. Overall, in general, best post kind of block out guy. And then, yeah, again, I don't know who the other person, I don't know who the other two were, but basically, effectively, they probably brought in their, Jackson's probably thinking, okay, who's my next best, like, experience at that inbound role, you know? Because, yeah, ideally, you want Pippen, but he was pouting on the bench.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what else
That was Bill Cartwright,
you know?
was in his ear. There was a lot of again, Bulls fans know 1.8 seconds. They know what that means. If you just say 1.8 seconds to anybody,
exactly
any Bulls fan, they know what they're talking. You know what they're talking about. They also know if you say something about a migraine, you know what they're talking about.
Right.
And again, it's just such a bad.
Just little, black spots on otherwise exceptional career. I mean,
career.
just incredible player on the floor, and it's just one of those. I think it's an unfortunate reflection. I think because it's unfortunate for someone like me who doesn't necessarily have the fandom attached to Scottie. Right.
Yeah.
Where I can kind of come at it and look at it even a little bit more objectively, I guess. Because there was already, just again, looking at it objectively, there was already sort of a bit of a concern that, you know what? All right. Yeah, they had that time. They still got rousted out by the Knicks that playoff.
Yeah, I won't mention why that is. Hugh Hollins, screw you.
But still, you know, but again, at that point in time, coach kept them alive because otherwise they would be 3-0, and at that time nobody had come back from that. But I'm saying,
and they wouldn't have. They
wouldn't have.
They went to Game 7. Should have won it in 6. They should have won it in 6. Hugh Hollins screwed them in Game 5.
If Kukoc missed, also got to remember they were tied. If Kukoc missed that shot, they would have gone into overtime. But the Knicks had all the momentum. They were coming off of a 22-point deficit and then tied it up.
Yeah, they had roared back.
Yeah, and then all the momentum was on the Knicks on that game. And so, but also to the point was that there was already, again, kind of as an objective viewer looking at it, there was already a concern that, you know, hey, look, not say I'm blaming you, but look, Scottie, you can't do it on your own, man. You're not that guy. No. You're just not that guy. No. You're not. You have every other intangible skill there is to be had.
3.5 quarters, you are the man.
Sure.
You are absolutely equal to anyone else on that court.
Sure.
Maybe 3 quarters. Mm-hmm. But because quite frankly, they were up 22.
Yeah.
Well, quarter he wasn't great.
Right.
But that's okay. That's like all of that's fine.
What I'm saying is,
you're not Michael Jordan.
I think
that's part every other player ever to play the game.
Exactly. And I think it kind of, but I think also it kind of comes down to a point of, that's a good point. That kind of breaks down to like reasons why LeBron isn't Jordan, but we'll run down that one.
Right. Yeah. Another day.
Scottie wasn't that guy. But also he wasn't. So the initial reaction would be that's okay. But there was also some concern from people looking outside of the Bull fandom. Yeah. They were looking at it and saying, "Yeah, but it's like, okay, he's not just that guy. Not just because it's like, oh, okay, neither is any other player in the NBA. It's because Scottie doesn't quite have the mental fortitude." And I'm not saying he wasn't smart. I'm just saying sort of just that mental toughness and endurance and rigor.
Brain power, right.
No, he was a smart player. It was more but just that endurance of it to keep it and maintain it and game after game after game after game.
Which is called clutch. You can define that as a clutch gene.
Absolutely.
If you want to.
If you want to put it in one word, sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Again, I say this: if you only heard this stream, you would think that I could not stand Scottie Pippen. Again, I can't
No,
stress
that's
enough.
the
He is
thing.
my favorite player of all time.
His handle is Julix33 for a reason.
There's a
The
reason 33 is in it.
is in it. Yeah.
There's a reason.
There's a very specific reason for it. Now, trust me, I've heard about the dare I say love affair one Mr. Ian Mack has with one Scottie Pippen as a player for sure. But to my point,
oh my goodness.
But to my point about that mental toughness is that, and again, I want to caveat this with the understanding that of what he's going through after losing his son. So I want to be.
And that's very fair.
I want to make reverence. I want to make reverence to that point. So I'm not even going to speak to specifically this incident on the Dan Patrick show. Let me speak to other things that he has said, other ways he's reacted to things, even before this, where he's starting to show cracks in the armor. Let me say, again, I would think that, outside of, say, Hall of Fame, where Jordan broke down, and maybe some of the points in the documentary where you saw Jordan show more of a side of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan wouldn't crack like that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so, not to say Jordan hadn't had some things he said here and there, but it's more just because he's just that dude and he's not letting that go.
I'm not saying, right. Michael, there is the other extreme too. I mean,
Jordan's faults are very clearly the counterbalance to his excellence.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. It's sort of the cost. It's very clear.
Be the greatest of all time. This is the cost.
Exactly.
Of that.
Exactly. And it's very clear why that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But with Scottie on the floor, the thing, and again, this is kind of why I think it tarnishes him, because Scottie was that bedrock of the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was that steady, consistent player. And he didn't, and again, like you said, like that 3 quarters, I think that's very apt because, okay, for let's say 3.9 quarters, he could be on, boom, 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 boom. And he knew in that 0.001, that guy's going to finish the shot. That guy's going to get the win. That guy's going to get it done.
Absolutely.
Not to say Jordan wasn't doing anything the rest of the game, but he knew at that point in time, okay, guess what? We need to give it to 23. Boom, boom, done.
Right.
And I don't have to do that. But guess what? That rest of that game, I'm gonna make this team wish they didn't step on this court for various reasons. I'm gonna shut
down your best player.
Exactly.
I'm gonna be that guy.
Yeah.
That first championship, they don't win it without Scottie.
Oh no.
You know who shut down Magic? Game 1.
Scottie.
Game 1. It was Game 1. It was all about Magic. Magic was Magic Michael. That was going to be the big thing. Magic is 6'9".
Yeah.
Jordan 6'6". Magic just threw over his head all the time, and they absolutely torched him.
But also, I mean, like
he came down to the last shot. They didn't torch him. But
Pippen was like listed at 6'8", but it was also his freaking like arm span. I mean, he just had like a ridiculous. He was kind of like a preamble to Kawhi in that way. I mean, just a ridiculous arm span. He was already
he defined a position.
Tall. Yeah. Look, I mean, again, in between the lines, dude. Flat out, from my perspective, again, and I'm not even a quote unquote fan, right?
Sure. Right.
No,
like I am.
Guard,
there is nothing like you. That's why you hear the venom behind mine.
No cap. Scottie Pippen is the best small forward to ever play the game. Period. I mean, if you look at all the skill sets, all the things that he could do, he could shoot the 3, he could drive it out, he could pass from anywhere, he led the league in steals. at certain times. And if he did, forget about it. He was down the floor and gone. Freaking dunked and posterized Patrick Ewing. You know,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
loved every minute of that.
Absolutely.
Loved every minute of that.
I mean,
yeah.
Dude, best small forward ever played a game, and I'm including LeBron in that list. I
would have trouble with that. I mean, you can't. I'll have trouble with that for the simple only one reason. And again, Scottie's my guy. Like if I'm in NBA 2K, it's Michael and Scottie.
Sure.
Those are my first two picks, and I don't care who else is coming. Like everybody else, great.
Give me a third grade scrub team.
yeah. Let's go. There's Michael and Scottie Michael, whatever you want to say that. Lakers fans, Kobe and Shaq and Kobe. Okay,
sure.
Whoever you want to side with, yeah, fine, that's great. And Kobe is probably second to Michael. Sorry. I
mean, if Kobe played small forward, I'd be open to a discussion. He's not the same kind of player, but as far as like, basically you're putting a mini Michael, you're putting a mini Michael at the small forward spot, then it's kind of like, okay, you know what? That to me is a bit more of an open discussion, because then it's like,
Kobe's better than Scottie. I mean, it's just what it is.
Sure.
As far as raw talent, if you're building a person, LeBron's better than Scottie too. If you're building a person, LeBron doesn't have the shutdown ability. That's what it comes down to. He's not the shutdown guy. He's as good a passer.
I think that's it for me. I think there's a lot of, and now obviously there's a size advantage there. I'll say
it's a different league too. LeBron in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, you will flex. You'll do that little arm flexing thing one time, and you're gonna get your teeth rearranged.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's again. I don't want to kind of combine topics. We'll be on here for 4 hours talking about this, and we are gonna we're gonna jump onto some other stuff. But yeah, that like I said, this one. I will touch on one point. I do want to say if Scottie's going through something, Lord, if we've all gone through something at some point, and hopefully nothing nearly as tragic as losing a son or child of any type.
And that's
that's mental health is, like we've said on here before, mental health is a legit thing. I mean, you never make fun of it. It's never you just sweep it under the rug or anything like that. And I say that from somebody that used to work at a place that was a mental health facility, et cetera, et cetera. So if any part of this is stemming from that, get the man he needs some help.
Yeah.
Somebody in his circle. Yep. There's got to be somebody. He was on the Dan Patrick Show to promote his whiskey or bourbon rather.
Bourbon. The bourbon is a whiskey, but yeah. Yep. No problem.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. But he was to promote his bourbon.
Yep.
Somehow we went from promoting bourbon to what happened 20, a long time ago, 1.8 seconds. Right. A long time ago, minus 1.8 seconds. So that coupled with the barbs with Kevin Durant, Scottie, there's been a bunch of other things. There's a lot of animosity toward The Last Dance.
Yep.
And even if you listen to that clip, he got into the thing about Jordan and who the cameras were working for, because Dan Patrick was like, well,
exactly.
Jordan said that he was going to pass. He was like, well, who are those cameras? Those cameras were there just so that Jordan could talk into them. I mean, maybe.
Sure about that,
I'm not saying that's but the thing you were also saying that Jordan didn't do, he actually did in a closing game, passing to Kerr. Yes. Jordan passed the ball. Michael Jordan, he passed the ball to Steve Kerr.
Right.
He didn't care what color he was. He knew he could hit that jump shot.
Well, yeah.
That's what
And
matters.
I mean, again, really, honestly, you got to kind of also ask yourself from a pragmatic standpoint. Now, first of all,
Yeah.
let me also reiterate the point that yes, Scottie Pippen needs help, then someone who loves him and cares about him, please get help. I'll also extend that out as just sort of kind of just a reminder in general. If you're going through some stuff, there are resources out there. Get help. All right. Just point blank, just blanket statement. Just There's
if you reach out to
there.
us, I mean, if you it is we're
point you to people.
Two guys. If we are two people that you're like, hey, you know what, good guys, we will help,
no doubt,
like legit,
absolutely.
There's no question, no nothing. Let's go.
We don't need to know any more details than you're willing to give us.
Nope.
And
nothing like that.
If you need some kind of, we can definitely point you in direction. I know Ian, like again, used to work in that business, definitely knows some things.
Sure.
There's a lot of resources out there now. I think especially one thing with COVID too is that a lot of resources have been developed because of COVID, where again, it's like you don't necessarily have to go in and talk to somebody. You can you can meet with people remotely. You can call the phone. Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of stuff out there to help people.
Ways that are there
and ways that you're comfortable. And that's the other thing too. Yeah. I think there's more access and ways to make people have those kinds of conversations in ways that they're comfortable, where it may not have existed before.
The stigma from when you and I were growing up. I mean, that there was you're going to go, you got a little, no, it's whatever. Everybody has something.
Everybody goes through stuff.
Yeah. Everybody, everyone. I mean, again, speaking as just us, we truly value it, and it's not a Twitch thing, it's not a YouTube thing. We truly do appreciate each and every person that is on our channel, whether you're viewing it, whether you're a follower, or subscriber, etc. We appreciate you being there. We want you to be there.
It's like I said, as far as the fun part of it, playing the game and everything, like Ian and I have said before, this would be something that we would be doing anyway, just because, especially it'd be a way because
our mental health.
Our mental health. Also, literally being freaking across the country from each other, something that we can do together. We'd be sitting here doing this to nobody, like literally zero viewers. We would be doing this. So for any of the viewers that are on, absolutely. If you're ever in a position where you think you need help, again, there's a zillion different ways. Might even figure out how to post some of that stuff up on our Twitch channel. In general, with stuff going on. I think that it's important to, again, like Ian said, if anything else, if you feel like you want to hit us up and say, dude, I need help, do it. I don't care who it is you talk to. I don't care who it is you go to.
Trying to be. We absolutely.
I mean, now listen, don't go. Let's put it, anybody but your crack dealer. If you're smoking crack, don't go to your crack dealer. Go to somebody else,
or go to someone else,
or your
literally
anyone else. But, outside of that, I don't care. There's so many different things. There's so many different situations that can lead people down really bad roads. And ultimately, the bottom line is that a lot of people end up feeling like they're all alone. And the most important thing to understand is that I think, especially if there's been any benefit at all to the whole social media thing, or the internet and everything else, which again, I think can lead people down very dark roads, unfortunately. But on the flip side of it, also provides access to things that. But that said, actually, to bring it back to actually what I was gonna talk about was how does it behoove you as a coach in the National Basketball Association
Exactly.
to be even remotely racist?
No.
Unless you're from like Boston in the 60s. Even then, you owe all your wins to a 6'11" black dude. I mean, now, but again, now there's some legitimate stuff coming out of Boston. I know, and there's some legitimate
Boston's
stuff coming out of
I was gonna say
too.
we Boston.
But I think
there's a reason that a lot of NBA players don't want to play there. But
since the 90s, since the 80s, since the 90s, moving forward, and especially now. But even like when, like, again, like all guys like Phil Jackson, but how in the heck does it really behoove you as a basketball coach to be racist?
Yeah. For that to even be for or against, like it doesn't even matter.
Guess what? Outside of certain plays, like I said, like a good shooter in situations like that, you know, very key, important times. Absolutely. You know what? You know, there's certain times, and again, I'm, you know, defending Phil's decision on that play here with Kukoc. Okay. I think if Kukoc happened to be black, he was a 6'11" guy that could shoot really well. You're going to pass it to that guy. But outside of like situations like that, what percentage of your X's and O's decisions are going to be get it to the black dude? Let me just put it out there.
I mean, yeah. Come on.
Really?
Come on.
I mean, we've had sort of the renaissance on the European players coming out and doing really well. Sure, absolutely.
If anything in the NBA, it is almost in reverse. I hate to say it like that, but it's almost in reverse.
But I mean, look, you're gonna get the shot out to LeBron. If anything else, he's gonna make the right pass. You're gonna get the shot out to Steph. You're gonna get the shot out to Clay. Yes, I know they're mixed. But if you have any kind of racial profiling as part of your game, let me remind you, by the way, Steve Kerr played with Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's, again, I think I was going to say, we'll drag.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to say, we're going to move on. I just had to kind of get that out. Thanks for indulging me briefly.
Dude, I think it's important.
Indulge me there.
I think it's important.
Yeah. If
anything else, just to let people know our stance on it.
Yeah.
Because I
was gonna say we'll stop it there. 48-minute mark. That was a long 15 minutes, man. We said we were just gonna talk for about 15 minutes.
I knew it wasn't gonna go 15.
Yeah. I said that we was gonna be 15 minutes.
It's too much to unpack. And again, I think with the potential mental health issue with it too, and everything else, and the history and everything else, it's so. Again, it also kind of speaks to the weight that Scottie Pippen holds in the league. Not even just you being a fan, but in general, to give it its due.
It's due. Yeah,
you know, it's a little bit more than a 15-minute combo. And that's just what it is.
Favorite player of all time. That's why.
And it's a shame. It's a shame. Like I said, we hope he gets help. We hope that, you know, he can really kind of help get some kind of solace in things and just understand that, look, I mean, again, dude, he's such again, on the court, regardless of everything else, if you just want to see how smooth that guy was on the floor.
Yeah, if you've never seen Pippen back when he was dogging some people,
man,
just pure shutdown guy. That's your guy.
Well, but again, you want to talk about people were saying in certain ways offensively, he was like the second coming of Magic, but a better finisher. You know, plus the defensive aspect of it. You know, he just He may not want to admit it, but ultimately he needed a finisher like Jordan.
That's what he's
against.
Absolutely.
To be able to position himself to win because he had everything else. Everything else.
Absolutely everything else.
You know, and there's no there's no knock on that, really.
No.
There's no reason to be,
6 titles, quite frankly, without Scottie, and I stress this again, without Scottie, I know there's not 6.
I know they don't win. I think they might have gotten.
No
they
6.
might have gotten
1, maybe
a couple.
Maybe. Yeah,
but I mean, just on Jordan.
I don't know if they get a couple. I truly don't.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just trying to think about like how much do I give to just Jordan's will,
Sure.
And it's like part of me wants to say maybe 2, but ultimately what it would have boiled down to is that like the Jordan rules would have been even more extensive.
Would have been in effect.
Because there would have been no way, because there would have been nobody else to worry about, really. I mean,
right. The Knicks would have. The Knicks would have had some titles. Let's just put it like that.
Mm-hmm.